Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Mastering Dungeons. I'm Shawn Merwin. As you might see, Teos is not with us. Teos is getting a well-deserved break with his family, and we brought in the heavy hitters this week, folks. We brought in none other than Mike Shea, aka Sly Flourish. Mike, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to say, I am not Teos, but I think we figured that part out.
Yeah. For those of us watching, we can see that. Those of us listening, it will soon be pretty clear.
It'll be apparent.
Yeah, it will be apparent that Teos is not here. So I first want to say for backers of the Patreon, before we get into your stuff, Mike, I wanted to let everyone know that we've put up the first encounter of an adventure. And if you are a Patreon backer, you can go vote on different aspects of this adventure that we're going to continue. So if you want to see it go in a certain direction, if you want certain creatures to be involved, we're going to do this for as long as we possibly can as we have the time. So if you're a Patreon backer, go check it out. If you would like to see what's going on, you can go look at the Patreon, but you won't be able to get involved unless you back it. More on that later. Thank you for listening about that. Now let's get to why we're really here.
Can I talk about that for a quick second, though?
You sure can.
That's something I've done on my Patreon as well, the idea of giving out little scenarios and adventures and things like that. And it's actually a really good way of getting feedback from folks. It's a great way for patrons to see the kind of work while you're working on it, which I think they very much appreciate. And it's a great way to watch something evolve. It also reminds me that kind of doing an encounter by encounter reminds me of when Monty Cook was doing Dungeon a Day. Do you remember Dungeon a Day?
Sure.
And I think that was really cool too. The idea of hey, here's one encounter of a larger dungeon that expanded as it goes. So I think it's a really cool idea. I'm glad you guys are doing that.
Yeah, well, we were doing, monsters here and magic items there. And I was like, it'd be really cool if we put all this together and we would throw in, hey, we've done the first 3 encounters. Now let's talk about the backgrounds that these characters might want to bring and sort of let our listeners build this along with us.
Shape it with you guys. Yeah, that's great.
So we'll test it out, see how it goes.
Yeah.
But well tested in the world of role-playing games is Mike Shea. Mike, one of the reasons that we're having you on today is because you just launched a Kickstarter, literally 3 hours ago. Doing well. I'm checking it out. It's already almost 85,000. So congratulations on tripling your funding ask almost off the bat.
Yeah, that's great. That's going very well.
So we're going to have a main segment about this entire book, about your career. We'll get to all of that in our main segment. But could you just give us a rundown on what is up on Kickstarter right now and who is it for?
Sure. Yeah. So this is the book Rise of the Lazy Game Master, and it is the latest of the Lazy GM book series. So I have several of these books that I've written probably for the past 10 or 12 years, and this is the latest of them. Rise of the Lazy Game Master is a standalone book, so you don't need to have the other ones. It's not a sequel to anything, yet also works well side by side with the other Lazy GM books that I've put out. It focuses on the 8 steps of Lazy GM prep, which I originally put in Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master 8 years ago, and expands each of the steps based on feedback that I've gotten over 8 years, experiences having run them, lots of information, new game systems that have come out in that time. Right. When that book came out, there were 4 times less people playing RPGs than there are now. So there's been a lot of change since then. But the good news is the 8 steps still kind of have been well tried and well tested over that time and still stand. It has a focus on campaign planning, like lazy campaign planning. It has 10 common adventure types, how you prep them, how you run them, how you customize the 8 steps for those adventure types, what kind of pitfalls those adventure types sometimes have, and how do you get around those pitfalls. And a giant lazy GM toolbox of little tips, tricks, and tools that you can use to prep and run your games. So that's kind of and it's a big 160 to 180 page hardcover PDF, EPUB, Markdown book. Exciting stuff. Been working on it about a year.
Awesome. And also part of the Kickstarter is you can go back and get some of the previous books that you've done, right?
Yeah, right. We've got packages for all of the previous books, including books written by the one Teos Abadia, who we had partnered on Forge of Foes a couple of years ago. There's package deals for digital versions, physical versions, and so on. Yeah, at pretty good discounts.
All right. So if you're interested in what's in that book and what Mike has had to say over the years about, prepping for your games, hang in there for our main segment. But we do love to talk to our listeners. So we're going to go to our listener corner
Onto the
here.
toot bag.
That's right. We are going to take a couple of tweet to missive stuffs. The first one coming from YouTube, of course, via Fox Trick. How do you prevent yourself from inadvertently copying or repeating an encounter or adventure design you've used before? After running and reading so many adventures, how do you keep your ideas feeling fresh while still drawing on past experiences? Mike, what do you have to say about this with Fox Trick?
I think there was like I read this in a book. I think it's true. I don't know if it's exactly happened the way it is, but there was a guy who was talking about observation bias, and that our feeling is that like everybody's paying attention to us and what we're doing all the time, when in fact nobody's paying hardly any attention to anything that's going on. And they had a guy walk into a classroom and hand a professor a piece of paper, and he was just dressed in normal clothes. And then they said, like, how many people do you think noticed what you were wearing when you came in? And he was like, I don't know, 5%, like, whatever. And then say, okay, now you have to wear this giant obnoxious Barry Manilow t-shirt, right? This giant picture of Barry Manilow on your shirt, and go in. And he had to do the same thing. And he did. And he was like, how many people do you think noticed your giant, obnoxious Barry Manilow t-shirt? And he said like 95%. And it was like 15%. Like it was up a little higher. And I think this matters for us because as GMs, we might look at something and be like, oh man, if I reuse this thing, they're totally going to know. And it's just tired stuff. And the players don't recognize that it's new at all. I've used the same map to the same place like 5 times for the same group. And a little bit of flavor, a little bit of shift in the story, a little bit of change in the lore, can change so much of something that they won't even recognize how much you've copied over from a previous one. So I think we can, relax a little bit about worrying too much of copying old stuff. Yeah. Because I think our players, like, they have new characters, they have new approaches to what they're doing, they have new abilities they want to try. They're kind of focused a lot on their own stuff. They're not going to notice too much if you happen to be reusing other elements of your adventure design more than once.
Yeah, I think I've probably used in just my games the 3 Grave Road map.
Yeah, right.
Right from the map pack there.
Sure,
it's just the road going
very
through
familiar
the forest,
with it.
and there's 3 graves there.
Yeah.
And I think finally, I've used it. I've used it in this stuff I've had to design. Like Wizards will say, use an existing map. So yeah, I'll go to that because it's one of the few that are actually through a forest. And I think I've used it in my home game probably 5 times now. And so last time I used it, the 5th time, my group was like, "Hey, this map looks familiar," and it's only because there are those three stinking graves there. Yeah, that they've noticed.
And imagine, like, you're showing the map, right? Like, it's a big, right. I know exactly what map you're talking about. Yeah. And you're showing that map, right? It's very detailed and very colorful and you'd think they'd notice that. But if you're describing something, there's no way they're going to know.
No, right? Definitely not.
Yeah.
And I think, as a game designer, it's impossible to prevent this sort of repetition at this point. I would never purposely repeat myself or the stuff I read from other people. And I realize, if I realize I've written something that's a carbon copy of something else, then all I'll do is like, okay, what can I change? And the easiest thing to change is the one cool thing. Right? If you use that one cool thing method of, the cool thing about this encounter is there's this portal over here that some random person walks through. Okay, now I'm going to change the one cool thing in this encounter to have spellfire ripping through the scene, or this one NPC or monster, even though it's not one that's supposed to explode, it explodes.
Yeah.
Right. Now we've got the one cool thing. It's different, and people can remember that and not remember all the other details that are exactly the same. It's sort of the Barry Manilow t-shirt thing.
Yeah.
That extra 10%.
Make sure to put a new t-shirt on that same, the bear stat block you're using.
Yeah. Right. So always look to change the goal, look to change the situation, look to change the monsters, the allies that might be involved, the atmosphere, the win conditions, the rewards, any clocks that you might have, timers, or even initiative. Initiative can change a combat so dramatically. If you're outside in the hallway and the one monster that clogs the door and you can't get past, that's a completely different encounter than if that monster goes last.
Yeah.
And so just change the tactics of an encounter even can have ramifications on the entire feel of the encounter.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to another question. This one from Justin Underland via our email, and you can email us at masteringdnd@gmail.com. So this is a two-part question about a hypothetical hire. You work at a TTRPG company and you need to hire someone to help you design, write, and create a new adventure for your own or an existing TTRPG. Your two applicants both have relevant college degrees and internships. Both have been playing and GMing TTRPGs for the same number of years, and that's why they're looking to shift careers. For the most part, their resumes are the same or comparable. But applicant A has a degree in creative writing with a focus on novels and an internship in novel editing and layout, where applicant B has a game design degree with a focus on level and environmental design with an internship in quality assurance, level testing, and play testing. Who do you hire and why? Yeah, I have a long answer and you have a shorter answer. I'm going to let your shorter answer go first.
All right. Well, my first is, it cracks me up because this fella is also a patron of mine and posted on my monthly Patreon Q&A the exact same question, to which I referred, man, I'm not the guy to answer that. Go talk to Shawn Merwin over on Mastering Dungeons. Like, they talk about this stuff all the time, right? Like, and then the one time I end up here is the one time when the same question, because nice. I don't know what the answer. I'm going to go with I would pick the designer over the writer. And part of the reason is my take on the industry is very different. I freelance for lots of companies, but I haven't been on the boss side. Mm-hmm. And I am, in my world, I'm the writer. I'm not going to hire writers, right? So I haven't really been in a state of having to work with other people who would be doing that kind of work, because that's the kind of work I want to do. So I'm picking people to do all the other parts that I can't do. But I have seen, and I have certainly heard of, on the creative writing side, and creative writers who get into RPGs can be a bit verbose. Mm-hmm. And you and I both know of folks who have been in the industry who are verbose writers. And as well respected as they are, when we talk to the people who sometimes have to deal with their work, there's a lot of sighing, and there's a lot of like, it took a lot of work to get them down from word count A to word count B because they had a lot to say. And so we have, that's a tricky bit where the designer side, and I picked this up from you, which is why I sent them to come talk to you about it and then ended up here anyway, was you had brought up that, like, it's a technical writing job a lot of times more than it's a creative writing job. And it's like, sometimes it's kind of the equivalent of writing stereo instructions, right? Mm. You've got to, you're building a scaffold that the GM can use to run a game. Yeah. And that requires a bit of technical writing that typical creative experience with creative writing might not have.
Yeah, it's very true. And even within TTRPG design, there's a wide range of things. And adventure writing, along with world building, might be the one area where you can get away with a little storytelling as opposed to complete technical writing, which I posit is what creating classes and feats and
monster stats,
spells and monster stats are.
Sure.
I would want to do what a lot of game companies do and give them design tests, right? Mm-hmm. Give them a test. Write one encounter of this adventure. I'm not going to give you a template. I'm not going to give you any guidance. Just go give me an encounter with these monsters, and this is the situation. Maybe give a word limit, but make it a larger word limit, and see who comes back with the one that's closest to what I need. And we all have so different experiences with our lives and with our jobs and with the things we do, that I wouldn't want to say that a creative writing major would be one way, whereas a designer would be the other way, because you just never know what their full background is. But I will say this, when I teach this class, I teach on writing for role-playing games. On day one, I tell people that I find it easier to teach people who know how to write for a game
Hmm.
than I find it taking someone who knows a game very well and teaching them how to write well. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's one other aspect of this that I always need to keep in mind. And again, I've had in class creative writing majors who are not as fine skilled a writer as a math major,
Mhm.
because that math major just happens to also have practiced and became good at writing. So I don't want to put those things. But I will say, in my experience as an editor, I find that if a first draft is well written, in terms of having complete sentences that use the correct styles, that have the words in mainly the right places, that makes it easier for me to focus on the game side of things, right? If I'm having to switch sentences around and break up run-on sentences with proper punctuation and do all those things, that means either A, I don't get that focus on the other stuff, the game design stuff that I need, or B, I have to do a separate pass, which is a whole other, 5 hours of my life. So I want to make sure that the writing is at least solid, especially in that sort of adventure writing milieu that the question asked about. Sound good? Are we
Yeah.
good so far? All right,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
get to part two. So in part two, Mike, you and I have decided to hire both of them because we're great fellas.
Right.
One has been struggling. Their performance has been fine, but not outstanding. Aside, I'll take fine any day. I don't need outstanding. Give me fine. They've had to unlearn things, redo work, and you've had to take some time to teach them the way you want to do it. Then their work and their performance improves. A few months into the job, the company has an open spot for a new project and accepting new ideas. You tell both applicants that they can take a week or two to come up with a prototype to show everyone for a potential new project. Applicant A comes back with something that looks like a large linear adventure path, similar to like Rise of the Rune Lords or Vec the Eve of Ruin, where applicant B comes back with at best a 10-page zine or a trifold pamphlet, similar to a Shadow Dark one-page adventure, or Curse Scroll, or Liminal Horror, The Chair, or Mothership, Vive Checked. Which idea do you accept?
B.
What do you think, Mike?
I can answer with a letter. B.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'll specifically say my little zinger. If they come back with Vec the Eve of Ruin, that's not really much of a question. I could go straight. I could go straight to the small pamphlet.
I think it was the size of
the style of right.
Not they hand you the.
I can't help it. I can't help but do my little stab at Vec the Eve of Ruin.
Sure.
But no, I love the shorter kind of, the shorter settings. They're bringing up like the Shadow Dark one-page adventures, the Curse Scroll. Like I ran a whole year-long campaign off of like 12 pages that Kelsey put out for Shadow Dark, and I think there's a lot you can do with that. Also, like if I was running a company and I'm like, man, if I can do 12 of those. Like, if they don't, some of them will hit the mark, that's okay. But if you don't hit the mark with a giant adventure path, that's a problem, right? Like that's a big product that somebody's not going to enjoy. It's actually one of the reasons that I'm kind of digging those short, like 1-page or half-page adventures they're doing in D&D 2024, like the Dungeon Master's Guide and Adventures in Faerun and Ravenloft Horrors Within have those short adventures. And I know a lot of people don't dig them. And I don't know that I dig all of them, but one thing is like, well, there's like 70 of them. So if you don't like one of them because the plot wasn't right, there's 69 others you can go dig into. Where if it was one adventure that was longer and I didn't dig it, now I got one whole thing I can't use.
Yeah, and that leads really into my answer, which is first, which one is better? Right.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, look at them. If this is an incredibly awesome outline for a full adventure that touches all the points, then okay, go. And if the 10-pager doesn't work, then no. But stepping even further back from that, if we're this company that's hiring multiple people, then we better have like a publishing schedule. We better have an idea of what we are publishing and why. So my question isn't which one is better or which one is best in a vacuum, but which one is best for this company right now?
Yeah.
Do we need these shorter 10-page things that we could publish 70 of
Yeah.
and do as well as two 350 page adventures. If so, let's do that.
Yeah.
Uh, if we have a hole in our uh, pipeline right now where we need and our customers are expecting a 256 page adventure, and the one that this person just handed in is good, then let's go with that. Not to say the other one's bad. It's just this one is where it fits into this pipeline. Um, I will say though that newer designers tend to have this think big and epic mindset. I've seen it. So I mean, this was
absolutely.
me, right? This was me back in the day
It's all
when
of
I'm
us,
first
man.
starting. Yeah,
Right.
it's like I've got this mega idea, and we can expand it. And I've already got 26 sequels planned, and the people that I was dealing with, and rightfully so, are like, slow down there, Slappy.
Right.
Let's let's
Did they really call you Slappy?
no, that's what
Okay.
I call
That's
myself.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
I don't know if I could continue on if that happened to me.
yeah. Oh,
Right.
I call myself much worse than
That'd be the
anybody
end.
could
That'd be
ever
the
call
end of
me.
my RPG career.
That's right.
Chris Perkins calling you Slappy after
Yeah, that would
after
be,
your
I'd be
Dragon
honored.
magazine submission.
So if you're a newer designer out there, yeah, remember this. Remember that everyone has these grand ideas. The thing is, can you deliver a great 1 page, three
Yeah.
page,
Yeah.
5 page, even 10 page
Yeah.
project, bring it to fruition? If you can do that, if I see you doing a great, perfect, well thought out and well delivered 10 page thing, then I'm going to be willing to let you do the 100 page thing,
Yeah.
because that's just doing the 10 page thing 10 times.
10 times, right?
Then I'm going to let you do the 250 page thing, because that's just doing the 10 page thing 25 times.
Yeah.
And we can always divide those up, put them together in a way that makes it work, makes the concept work, makes it work business wise, and all those things.
Yeah, and just to reiterate on your experiences, I mean, you have more experience in this area than I certainly do, but I've definitely seen the same thing when I talk to new GMs and new designers and I think where it comes from, that idea of like they want to make the giant thing. They haven't had any avenue their entire life to be able to make something like that. Now they suddenly do, and they're all making Gone with the Wind, right? And it's like, how about less Gone with the Wind and a little more Walker, Texas Ranger? Like, let's make like the 30-minute, make the little 30-minute thing where somebody gets roundhouse kicked in the face in the first 5, so that we can get right into the meat of the adventure. And so I offer the same advice, particularly for new publishers. And a lot of times they don't have any audience yet, and they're like, no one's, if they don't know who you are, no one's going to buy your 250-page thing. Also, you're not going to be able to really make it because it's going to cost too much. And so picking those like 1 page, 2 page, 3 page short things is really a good way to start getting your experience, I think.
You get to make all the mistakes.
Yeah. For a lot less cost.
1/250th of the price.
Right. Exactly.
Of those mistakes. Yep.
Awesome.
Well, let's jump into our news and commentary section now. Got some things to cover here. We're going to start with the news that D&D Fan Expo London has been canceled. So this is the quote from the article. To ensure we can deliver the truly epic experience this community deserves, the event will be rescheduled to the 4th and 5th of September 2027. This decision allows us to expand the show and bring you a bigger, better celebration of Dungeons and Dragons with more to see, more to do, and more special guests involved. We know how much you've been looking forward to the event, and we truly appreciate your patience while we take the time to make it the best it can possibly be. The tickets will remain valid for the new date, but you can also get refunds upon request at your original point of purchase. So it's alarming to some degree to hear news like that, I would say.
When was it supposed to happen?
It was supposed to happen, I think, this summer or this fall.
Okay, so like 2 or 3 months from now?
Yeah. It wasn't, I don't think it was like next week. I think it's been there's at least a couple months of leeway in there. Mm-hmm. And I was alarmed at first, and then I read that other fan expos in London were also canceling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's a pop convention that also canceled. And their reason was we just can't fly the guests in. It's
Oh
just
wow.
too expensive. We would lose.
Huh.
There's no way we could make money on this
Yeah.
with travel expenses and lodging expenses and everything. So part of me is like, okay, we can try to assign reasons why, but with that happening, that's a call that maybe it's a more of an inflationary thing
Hmm.
than it is a a D&D related story.
Yeah, the only thing I had heard, so I can't remember if it was in my Discord server or over on World, somebody had mentioned that the venue that they had chosen was enormous. You know, that
Yeah,
they had rented a really, really big place. And they were like, I don't know how they were ever going to fill that place up, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, it was Gen Con level size, you
right.
know, for very unlikely to get Gen Con level populations to go from what I had heard. So
Yeah,
I don't know if there's any truth to that at all. It's just something that somebody had brought up, was that they knew the venue, and that they were, when they first heard, they're like, you know, how are they going to get 100,000 people at this thing? Right? Like they were,
you're
you
right.
know, they were
Yeah,
supposed to have a huge amount. So I don't know. I don't know if sometimes they have a venue like that, but they only have one part of it. So maybe it was scaled appropriately and something else happened, or maybe that was part of it, was like they're not
yeah.
making back the rent on the place that they're selecting. I don't
All
know.
I know is I can't get like a group of seven players together
Yeah,
for
right.
one
Scheduling is
evening.
hard. I would,
I
yeah.
can't imagine.
I go to like small conventions of like 100 or 200 people sometimes, and I'm like, man, I don't know how they do it. Like this is,
Right.
you know, there are times where I look at like other businesses, small businesses in this hobby, and I'm like, my God, like that's looks like such a tremendous pain in the ass. I have no idea how anybody manages to do it, you know, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yep. So we'll keep an eye on that rescheduled date to see how that pans out. We have a new D&D Beyond drops coming at the beginning of July. This new month will bring both VTT encounters as well as magic items, feats, and monsters. And, of course, the new maps that they've been doing. What are the magic items, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. We have Climber's Ammunition, which is an uncommon ammunition that, when it hits a solid surface, will attach to the surface with a rope trailing from behind it. So it's sort of a magical grappling hook. We have Goggles of Foe Finding, a rare wondrous item. With these goggles, your ranged weapon attacks ignore half cover or three-quarters cover. And we have the Stormwalker's Cloak, which is a rare wondrous item that gives you lightning and thunder resistance, as well as letting you cast Hellish Rebuke using thunder or lightning instead of fire damage. Uh, Anything stand out to you there,
Yeah, I
Mike?
like the Stormwalker's cloak. Is, I mean, this is a common thing that I've been doing forever, which is, you know, anytime I give out a magic item these days, it's never like, oh, here's a +2 sword. It's always like a
Mhm.
+2 sword that casts darkness that you can see through once a day. And so
Right.
the idea of like a lightning cloak that lets you cast, and the hellish rebuke thing is something I very commonly do, which is
Mhm.
I would give defensive items with pretty low stats, but that let you inflict damage upon the person who hits you, which gets rid of the, you know, it breaks down the super defensive idea that a lot of players go for, because
Right.
now they like getting hit, you know, which is always
Yeah,
a
that
fun thing. So
yeah, I love that idea. I love that idea. All right, we got some feats here. We have Pack Fighting. This feat gives you a slight boost in extra damage when you and an ally surround an
hey,
enemy.
look, flanking.
Flanking,
Sorry.
yes, that
Whoops. Oh,
damage.
yep. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Oh, that damage increases if another ally within range also has this feat. In the past, we've had these teamwork feats. I don't remember if they were for fifth edition or not, but
Do
we've
we?
definitely had them.
I'm assuming the bonus is, so it's a bonus to damage.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
yeah.
Not a bonus to attack. So
We have
not quite like feed, not quite like
it's not pack
packing.
tactics.
Yeah,
It's pack fighting. Yeah.
right.
We have prone fighting that will lets you fight without any drawbacks when you have the prone condition. Shifting combatant. This is a general feat where you can jump into the fray without concern or force your enemies to collide and fall prone. We call that the MCDM rule, the draw steel rule. And then tactical combatant. This general feat allows you to turn your weapon strike into something extra for protection and potentially turn a failed ability check into a success. I have not studied these feats in great detail, so I'm not able to discuss the tactical ins and outs and game mechanical ins and outs of them. But yeah, they're feats. If you like them, use them. If you don't like them, don't use them. There you go. And last but not least, something I am familiar with, which is the para-elemental monsters.
Are these your guys?
Yeah, I worked on the design for these.
Oh, so, cool. I want to talk about it.
Okay, cool. We have the ice elemental, which can fire icicles at enemies or use them to pierce foes. A magma elemental. They're as every bit as destructive as volcanoes, capable of throwing globs of magma and lava at their foes. The mud elemental, which are made of dripping blobs of muck. Don't get engulfed by these, fellas. And last but not least, the smoke elemental. These incendiary elementals are made of ash and can immolate you while you suffocate. All right, hit me, Mike.
One of the things I really love about them is that they have a vulnerability that isn't vulnerability. Yeah. Right. That the normal damage vulnerability is, in my opinion, a bit too overpowered. That like if you find like a cold, ice elemental style, and you just say, oh, it has vulnerability to fire damage. Well, then you have like the mummy problem, which is mummies are really dangerous until they're not. And now they're not dangerous at all. And this one has this like, hey, they have a feature and you can kind of disable the feature by using the element as well. And I think, I imagine, and you can tell me, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting design, because you can say like, I'm going to up its damage a little bit more than the amount of damage it would typically do at this challenge rating. And then if they get hit by the thing that removes this feature, their damage is a little bit less than they would normally take, but not so much that the threat of the monster is removed. Right. In one way or the other. So I thought that was a really crafty design in here.
Yeah. Yeah. I started from more of a story element, which is, the ice elementals aren't all ice. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to just give them vulnerability to fire, right? They're not all cold. I don't want to do what the elemental, the normal elementals, fire, earth, etc. does. So let's find an alternative way to bring that about. And that's when I struck upon that idea of giving them this feature that can be ameliorated. I think that's a word, by doing the right type of damage. Yeah. So they're there. Check them out. They're all CR6 monsters to match their elemental counterparts.
Prime elemental types, yeah.
Yep. And then we have some new maps for those planes. So the plane of ash, the plane of ice, the plane of magma, and the plane of ooze, as well as para-elemental themed stickers for the map's virtual tabletop. And they also let everyone know that Drops is also now working better in the mobile app. And they have a blog post, which is in our show notes, that tell you all about that move to make the mobile app work better with Drops. They also have the recent weekly encounters, the Threshold Guardians, which are for levels 1 or level 9, and Slippery Slope, which is a pair of encounters that you can do for levels either 2 or 7. And we also got the Ravenloft Play-Along packs continued with Unspeakable Horrors for level 6 PCs. You can check out all of that in the link in our show notes, but it's all up there on D&D Beyond for you. Any thoughts?
So I'm going to give my general Drops thoughts, right? Yeah. I hope these things make it into a book one day. Mm-hmm. Particularly the monster. I mean, I'm a GM, so I like monsters, right? Yeah. And I would, I am hoping that sort of the way this works is similar to how, like when you were talking about adventures for Patreon, right? Of like, we can try them out on Drops, we can see how they play out, and then if there's an adventure, a bigger adventure book, or a future, Monster Manual 2 or whatever, that we can take some of the stuff that's in here, maybe give it another, another bit of refinement, another design pass based on any experiences or feedback that people have, and then turn it into a published product. Because my big problem with Drops is like, it's Drops, right? It's digital stuff that's only on D&D Beyond. It's the only place you can use it. You don't really own it, and you can't, it's not appearing in other stuff. You can't get it on Roll20 and so on. The other part that I always have trouble with is like I still don't understand exactly how the relationship between players and GMs and this material is supposed to work together. because players get access to this stuff on their own, right? If they're a subscriber, they get access to it. And there's always the general rule of the GM gets to decide what's in a game, but the player specifically is paying to get access to this stuff. Is it Wizards' intention that we GMs should always allow this stuff because players are putting it here? Or is it, no, you're not allowed, it's up to the GM, but then are we making the GM the jerk of saying like, hey, it's your GM's problem. We're giving you all this beautiful new feats that do all these new things. And like, they seem fine, but like, I don't know exactly what they do. And I know that there have been times where, especially when a lot of new character options are coming out, where character options invalidate entire gameplay styles, right? And I'm seeing it in other 5e games too, where like, hey, here's a light that only you and your chosen friends can see, and everyone else is still in darkness. Well, that gets rid of the whole threat of light and darkness inside of caves, right? You've removed an entire element of threat from the game. So I still have trouble with like the understanding, and I'm thinking the answer is nobody's really thinking about that they're like, hey, these are just cool options and we're going to put them out there. We want the subscription to be valuable for people. We want to offer more than just fancy dice and little borders for your character and offer actual crunchy bits. But I don't know that we figured out the whole relationship of like how this is supposed to work at the table, right? I don't know how does it work in Adventures League? I have no idea. Is everything allowed in Adventures League?
Adventurers League is a whole separate thing from Legends of Greyhawk,
sure,
which is a whole separate thing.
Yeah. So right. Pardon me, but Adventures of Greyhawk is the newest one, right?
Legends of Greyhawk.
Legends of Greyhawk. Sorry. So Legends of Greyhawk is the. And so are they allowed in Legends of Greyhawk?
I think each one makes their own decisions, and right now, no.
Oh, okay.
Not in Legends of Greyhawk. Yeah. For Adventurers League, there's a group of folks who decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the admins, I think they're still called. And they'll say either yes or no. I don't know the inner workings of like organized play between Legends of Greyhawk, Adventurers League, D&D encounters, etc.
Yeah.
Way above my pay grade. And the things I do know, I can't really talk about because I don't want to talk about the things I talk about.
Yeah, right. As the guy who wrote these monsters, for example.
Right. And I am of 27 minds about it because as someone who's writing these things, I want people to use them. I want people to have access to them.
You want those crusty GMs in the way between your fine material.
Right. Well, no, but I do want the crusty GMs in the way because the crusty GMs, as we'll talk about when we talk about your book, right?
They're the ones. Masters,
hey, it's a whole new line.
Maybe 8 years. 8 years we'll do that one.
I want them to be able to have some sort of say over what is brought into the games that they are running, and it's always a communication thing, right? It's always I would like to try this. Can I? Yeah, but and it's a business problem as well because there are so many audiences.
Yeah.
People want something and then you give it to them and they're like, but not that.
Yeah.
Or you give it to them and they're like,
the but not that is a big problem in this hobby.
Right. But I want that, but I want it in this format. Yeah. I want that, but I don't want this. And then where there's a million other people standing there who want the thing that exactly you don't want.
Yeah.
So all I can say that they being the folks at D&D Beyond have said, we do plan to publish all of this stuff in a single source at the end
outside
of a
D&D
year.
Beyond.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
That's my big question.
Right. And so, they are. You said, are they thinking about these things?
Sure, I'm sure they are.
I think it is safe to say they are thinking about these things.
Right.
It's what conclusions are they drawing that are important,
and what makes sense from a business perspective and everything else. Right?
And all I can say is, if you want something, stand up and say.
Yeah.
You just have to remember that you are not the only person standing up and saying the thing or different things. So
I want your para-elemental monsters to continue to live on.
Me too.
That's what I want. I want to have these 30 years from now.
Well, Mike, you could help them live on Roll20 and Demiplane because
how do I do that?
They are at some point maybe because Roll20 and Demiplane have put out the call for a job of content conversion contractor. They are seeking to expand their licensed content resources by bringing on additional conversion specialists as remote independent contractors. So this game content team will create high quality official conversions of licensed content for a variety of tabletop game properties across both Roll20 and Demiplane platforms. This will include work on Dungeons and Dragons, Daggerheart, Pathfinder, Marvel, Multiverse role-playing game, and more. Right now, they are looking at least 20 hours and maybe up to 40 hours a week, starting at $15 an hour. The link to this job posting was on Google Forms, so we have a link to that in our show notes. But it shows that there is an audience out there, I would say, for this sort of content of many games using a virtual tabletop, more than any single tabletop can sort of keep up with. So they're hiring these positions to move them over, to convert them to the Roll20 tabletop via Demiplane.
That pay's not great.
It's not.
It's $30,000 a year. Like that's for tech work. That's pretty. I mean, I have not done conversion work, but I've done similar kinds of work in like converting stuff from PDF into EPUB. Yeah. And that's similar because you're kind of taking unstructured stuff and putting it into a structured format in the same way that you'd be taking stuff. And man, I would not take $15 an hour for that work, right? It's a pain in the ass, and it requires a fair bit of experience.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised at that. I can also share like my experience. I don't know. I think when we look at sort of the names that they've got there, Dungeons and Dragons, Daggerheart, Pathfinder, Marvel Multiverse, and so on, those are kind of real big properties. I don't know how well kind of third-party products. I can speak for my own, right? I have third-party products that are up on a couple of different platforms, and the sales are negligible, right? Like I've got one where it takes me longer to go look up how much money it didn't make every month because I'm paying royalties on it. And it's always zero, right? Like, it's, one sale. And so it doesn't really, and I think that might also fit with the amount of money that they're paying per hour. I don't know that everyone understands how little some of these third-party products are making on the platforms that they're putting it on, but I think it's actually pretty low. I think the only one where third-party products I think are doing really well is D&D Beyond.
that is probably a truth. I would say. Yeah, it's we don't know the numbers. We don't know exactly how much Daggerheart sells via Demiplane and is used via Roll20. And this is one of those questions: is do they need people because there's the demand, or do they need people to hope to create the demand by having these products up there?
Well, and again, it looks like they're aiming at first-party stuff, right? And I imagine that will do better than third-party material for existing games.
Well, speaking of existing games, we have the 2026 ENnie Award nominees released. Those winners will be announced at Gen Con 2026 this year. So less than a month away now, Gen Con starts. There are so many categories. We could talk about so many things, but I just wanted to put up here the Product of the Year nominees, which include Coriolis, the Great Dark Core Rulebook from Free League, Daggerheart by Darrington Press. You may have heard of that. Dolanwood Campaign Book from Exalted Funeral Press. Legend in the Mist Core Book from Son of Oak Game Studio. Menagerie of Unbearable Things by Tania Herrero. The Bonsai Diary by Gene Koo. The Crooked Moon Ultimate Edition by Avantris Entertainment. The Field Guide to Floral Dragons box set from Hit Point Press. The Spark Devil by the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society. And The White Horse of Lowvale, also by Tania Herrero. So, any of those?
Isn't there a chunk of you inside that Crooked Moon?
There's a small chunk of me inside one of the one of the two books that are in there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And did they? I forget. Did they sent you one?
Oh yeah, it's sitting
and
right
you like
here.
you threw your back out trying to like lift it into the house.
I would pick it up and show you the box.
Yeah, but you hurt
But
yourself.
I literally might hurt myself. I might
Yeah.
need a team. And that's just that box, which is, I would say, a foot square, like on
Yeah.
each side.
Yeah.
That's just certain things. There's another box that has other parts of it, and that doesn't include like the plushies and the, so this
Yeah. Right.
ultimate edition is not just right. My 1% of
Right.
the writing that went into the just the adventure book does not does not compare to
The size
everything
of the
that you
book. I
got
remember
in
you.
that
Yeah, I remember
ultimate
you
edition.
talking about that the box set. Yeah, my if I had to put a vote out, the Dolmenwood campaign book is absolutely outstanding. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous book, and it is an example of a book where you have one guy who's just been working on it forever, and he
Mhm.
been spending the time with it, and there's like every ounce of love that he has in every corner of that world. It's a kind of an old school style book, right? The rules for Dolmenwood are based on Old School Essentials, which is based on
Mhm.
BX from
Right.
ye old and D&D.
Yeah.
But it's a, yeah, I've got friends that have run campaigns in it. I'm actually planning on running a campaign in it when we're done with our Tales of the Valiant game. So it's I think that one, just from that point of view of like having one person's creative energy into a single product that came out as well as that product came out. And it came, I backed the Kickstarter for it and I got the box, and it was a similar experience to yours with the Crooked Moon one. It was like, oh, I'm going to need two people to lift this up.
Mhm.
And I opened it up, and I get this with Kickstarters that I back, because sometimes a year or two after I backed it, I don't really
Right.
remember it when I get
Hey.
it. What is this? It's like Christmas later, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And a gift to my future self. But sometimes I open it, I'm like, oh my God, how much did I pay for this? Right?
Yeah.
Because there's so much stuff in there, and you're like, oh man, what did I do? And I looked, and it was not a lot of money. And I'm like, oh man, somebody took a bath, because like,
Yeah.
it's a cloth map in here. It was 8 hardcover books and a cloth map for like
Wow.
$150. And I was like,
Yeah.
that is bananas low.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this is the product just for the campaign book, not the rest of the Dolmenwood books. But I think as a campaign book, it is an
Yeah.
outstanding product. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep an eye on those winners, which will again be announced at the beginning of August, end of July, when the award ceremony happens at Gen Con. Couple things from our creator corner. We're going to talk about Keith Ammon and his book, Another Stab at Making Monsters. This is a supplement to the book Making Enemies, Monster Design Inspiration for Tabletop Role-Playing Games. And it contains tools for creating adversaries in the role-playing game Daggerheart. It features Daggerheart conversions of your favorite monsters from Making Enemies. The PDF is 97 pages, and it's $4.99. Now, this is not a standalone product. It goes along with that Making Enemies monster design inspiration. So you can buy that. There's a link in our show notes, or you can go to spyandowl.com store and search for Another Stab at Making Enemies. And the second entry here in our creator corner is a nightmare adventure, which is on the DM's Guild. So this is the debut publication of Matt Dunn, aka Talos the Stormlord, friend and backer of our show. Matt is also the assistant story lead for the High Folk region for Legends of Greyhawk. This project started out as a single adventure to go with Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, and now 5 years later, it's become a whole trilogy available for purchase, just in time for Ravenloft: The Horrors Within. It's compatible with both 5 and 5.5e, set in one of Ravenloft's domains of dread, the Nightmare Lands. You can use it for Adventures League play, but it's also perfect for any Ravenloft table, with rules for playing in dreams and the set of nearly 20 dream encounters, each representing a different horror genre that you can drop into your home game. You can grab the first adventure already, called A Dream Come True, on the DM's Guild, and a second act, Dream Destination, dropped today as you are listening to this show when it releases on Wednesday. And the final series act will be Out of a Nightmare, which will be available the following week, starting on July 16th. A link is available in our show notes. Any other news that you want to throw in, Mike, before we
No,
go?
I just want to mention, you mentioned Keith Amon, and he's up for 2 Ennies when we were talking about the Ennies previously. So his book Making Enemies is for best aid and accessory and for best writing. So I thought that was cool. And there's a friend of both of ours. Really excited for
Keith does amazing work, and Teos and I even got credited for his latest books.
Oh, really?
Because we were like, why aren't you designing monsters, not instead of just saying how the current ones work? And he's like, maybe I should do that. And off he went.
What is Teos doing, giving Keith Amon a competition for our book, Forge of Foes, which is about making monsters?
I know.
Teach that guy some business acumen.
Yep. Well, if you can only buy one, buy something I wrote. But if you can buy up to 3, buy
you can buy 2. You can buy his too. Yeah.
And that was our news and commentary section here. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk in our main segment about Mike's work and Mike's new book, Rise of the Lazy Game Master. So hang in there for that.